Hello, welcome to another informative episode of Housing Development. The incessant reports of building collapse in Nigeria have become increasingly alarming and embarrassing in this modern age, as there seems to be no end in sight to this menace. Casting a retrospective look into the history of failed buildings in Nigeria, one would observe that Lagos and Abuja appear to record more of such cases than any other states in Nigeria. It has become so bad that one can arguably say that a record of building collapse is registered somewhere within the country in every 6 months. People are yet to recover from the shock of the recently collapsed 21-story building still under construction in Ikoyi, Lagos State. How do we curb this menace of building collapse? Are there possible ways of averting this ugly collapse? These are questions begging for answers as we start up today's episode of Housing Development. As always, I am your housing diva, Flora Ani. The news headline is up next. I'll be back shortly.
The Oyo State government has vowed to deal with all illegal occupants of government properties, saying those involved should desist or face the wrath of the law. The Commissioner for Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Olusegun Olayiwola, who gave the warning during his visit to some of the government-reserved areas, GRAs, said government will deal with anyone found occupying any of the state properties illegally. Olayiwola said government was making holistic assessments of state government's GRAs in Ibadan with a view to commence proper planning and development. He added that government is putting measures in place to commence work on undeveloped land in GRAs in the state capital. He said this is part of efforts of the Seyi Makinde-led administration to provide affordable housing and tackle increasing population in the state. Land surveyors have stressed the importance of grading practitioners based on works done and experiences as a means to improve and sustain the practice in Nigeria. They also called for a succession plan by practitioners to guarantee quality surveying practice and growth of firms. The call was made at the yearly Mandatory Continuous Professional Development (MCPD) program of the Lagos chapter of Nigerian Institution of Surveyors (NIS) on application of close-range photogrammetry in facility mapping. Leading the call at the 2-day program, the managing partner, Oak Surveys Limited, Mr. Kazim Kolade, explained that the grading would help in repositioning surveying profession in the country. He lamented lack of decorum in the practice, stressing that it has led to disagreement in bids for jobs and engaging in unwholesome practices, especially making ridiculous bids to outsmart others, which reduced credibility of the practice. Also, the principal partner, Map Data Services Limited, Super Odukoya, who spoke on mentorship and shared commitment, said surveyors must look at the bigger picture by sharing the same goal. He called for commitment, credibility, honesty, and fairness in mentoring. Quantity surveyors have called on government to invest heavily in research, encourage manufacturing and local production of construction materials to reduce the cost in construction. According to them, with a downturn in the economy caused by COVID-19 pandemic and lately rise in foreign exchange rate, the real estate appears worst hit and has affected housing in southeast states. They further stated that it is also important for government to improve credit system to enable off-takers access mortgages, which will fast-track the rate at which people can be able to buy homes, stressing that it is important for government to ensure efficient mortgage financing as the present mortgage system is not sufficient and robust to capture the huge market that is available for home purchases.
What is the name of my grandson?
Suleiman.
That's a good name. May the Almighty preserve him.
Amen.
Now that your family is growing, this is the time for you to start thinking of a house of your own.
Abba, the thought of this has always been on my mind. To build a house now, you need a lot of money, and that is what is holding me back.
Sani, what you need is a mortgage. NHF mortgage loan. With NHF mortgage loan, you own a house upfront and pay gradually over a long period of time.
Abba, I will go to the FMBN office right away.
Come join us at FMBN and let's shelter Nigeria together.
For more housing, finance, and construction news, do well to visit www.africanhousingnews.com. Over the last 10 years, the incidence of building collapse in Nigeria has become so alarming and does not show any sign of abating. Each collapse carries along with it tremendous effects that cannot be easily forgotten. This include loss of human lives, economic wastage in terms of loss of properties, jobs, incomes, loss of trust, dignity, and exasperation of crisis among the stakeholders, and environmental disaster. But experiencing negative trends in the Nigerian building industries, while other parts of the world are experiencing total improvement, brings to the fore the need to come out boldly and confront this ugly situation. In seeking for a solution, Housing Development Prog interviewed some stakeholders.
It is important to know what town planning is all about. It is to make sure that the right site is given to the right use by the right person at the right time. One of the functions of planning is development control. Now, the purpose of development control is to ensure that whatsoever has been planned is what the land is being used for, to avoid abuse. In a place like Lagos, there is the Planning Approval Agency, Building Plan Approval Agency, which is part of the function of planning. And then there is the Building Control Agency. The job of the Building Control Agency is to ensure that buildings are delivered in their right quality. And so it consists of the various professionals that are in the built environment that have responsibility towards that. The essence of authority is responsibility. And anything outside that is being irresponsible. It doesn't matter. Somebody can be a governor. Somebody can be a president. As long as he does not respect the law of the land, as long as he does not respect standards, he is irresponsible. And he may not know that, impunity or giving a cover to a wrongdoer is costing us lives. The Nigerian Institute of Town Planners is a professional group and an advocacy group. What we have done in recent times, or what we have been doing, is to advise people in positions of authority, people who are in power, professionals, that everybody should live according to the tenets of the profession, according to the ethics of the profession, and according to the code of conduct. I'll make bold to say that in the past 1 year, the national president of the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners has gone around 19 states of the federation on this advocacy to let people know the spirit and purpose of planning, and to let people know that doing anything which is contrary to the provisions of the law that guide planning is being irresponsible and being, unfair to humanity.
Now, Engineer Babagana Muhammad, the president, Nigerian Society of Engineers, also lent his voice to this issue.
It is saddening, it's quite unfortunate that this is happening to Nigeria in this particular time. It's a slap on Nigeria and Nigerians. It's a slap on professionalism, and it's a slap on engineering. And this cannot be condoned. It's not acceptable by every standard. To us as a society, it is not acceptable to us by every standard, and will participate in digging out the culprits, and appropriate sanctions must be applied. You see architects doing engineering work, you see builders doing engineering work. We are not complaining, but we kept telling everybody that if you're not an engineer, you can never be an engineer. That is one thing that everybody must understand. We have our languages. It's only those of us who are engineers speak our language and understand our language. You may work in our environment for 100 years. You are not an engineer. You are not an engineer. What has happened is very, very sad. But for me, it's a challenge. But for me, it's also an opportunity, because it's going to expose so many things out. And if we are right, if we are sensible at this point, then everybody will be working towards getting it right. And then things will start going in the right direction, and we move. Look at the one-story building. Look at the effect on the economy. At this period when we are inviting investors, we are looking for foreign capital to flow into our country. So this colossal calamity is coming to us at this time, at this particular period. The timing is very wrong. It's very wrong, because apart from, you cannot even quantify the cost of life lost. You cannot quantify it. Now coming down to economy, what you see destroyed or material destroyed damages, this is fiscal. The non-fiscal, people outside are having against us, that cannot also be quantified. People who wanted to come in this period, make arrangements to come, because of this thing, many people will draw back. Because if people come, they must sleep in houses. If they felt the houses they are sleeping are not secured, the regulatory agencies' reputations and prestige are at stake. The society's reputations and our prestige are at stake. So many issues are at stake. And investors cross-check all these facts before they come into business.
I'm Debbie Erb. I work for OPIC in the United States, and keep watching the Affordable Housing Development Program.
When the quality of a structure falls below the required standards, structural failures are inevitable. Speaking on the issue of building collapse, Engineer Emeka Eze, Chairman Board of Trustees, Nigerian Society of Engineers, has this to say.
Government activities are regulated by law, and each government has what is called Development Control Office set up by law with responsibilities. And when I, as a structural engineer, an architect designs, allocate space and all that, and then comes to a structural engineer to put up the framework so that it stands. When we finish, we submit it to the development control. And in that development control, it is expected that you have structural engineers of competent knowledge that will go through the submissions, right? And then they will go back and forth and look at the setbacks, the thing that you're supposed to comply with, provisions. When they go back and forth and approve, they're also supposed to ensure that the project during construction, one thing is to get the approval. The other is to ensure that what is approved is being built. Because it doesn't stop at the approval level. And at that level of construction, that is where the most important aspect as well. Because the person who is building must comply to the quality control and material selection and usage and placement of reinforcement. There is what they call structural integrity that ought to be done at every stage. Even approval before you can pour concrete. Before you can pour, the structural engineer ought to come and look at the placements of the reinforcement and the sizes and their spacings, and then sign off on it that is okay in line with the drawing, and then go and invite the development control person to come and go through it and sign off on it. And then when that happens, they are going to take samples of the concrete during concrete mixing, to take some samples of concrete to be sure that the concrete mix you are using will achieve the same design concrete mix that you have chosen at the point of design. For such a big project, these are processes that ordinarily must be complied with. And if that happens, there is no way that building can collapse, because the structural engineer is there to sign off on the reinforcement, sizes, spacings, and locations, right? Then the development control, who is the government regulatory authority, will also come as well, go through it, check it, sign off, and on the day they are placing reinforcement, the concrete, they are going to be present to take samples of concrete and do what they call in situ concrete test, slump test, to see how fluid the concrete is, right? And then document them. Every serious project like this should have a history of all these things from foundation up to the point where you deliver the project. But what has happened is that estate development has now become an all-common affair. It has become a business that even people, with all due respect, who did not have the basic training in development or engineering, are now taking the center stage and become the bosses. That they even intimidate technical people. Say, this drawing says, I'm going to use Y16 bar. He goes to the market and says, what's available is Y14. And you come to you say, I can't use it. They say, you must use it. If you don't want to use it, I'll sack you. Because the man is looking at the effect of that extra cost on his profit. We should use this opportunity to strengthen our such delivery of projects and strengthen the professionals in the sector.
Welcome back. Every structural system is designed to meet some needs and be safe to avoid loss of life, property, and damage to the environment. In a normal setup, failures are not expected within the projected lifespan of structures. Now let's get to the street to see Nigerians' reaction on the spate of building collapse in the country with the recent collapse in Lagos State.
Our system here does not encourage excellence. They don't supervise our system, our laws. People don't care. They do their things on their own. Nobody to supervise, yes. The architect professionally or whoever professionally doesn't do their job because nobody is checkmating them. And even when it happens, nobody is held responsible for that. So it's a big problem for our country. If the Lagos State government had done what is right, it has been happening. That's not the first time. Buildings have been collapsing all over Nigeria, all over the world. But other countries will always take action. If it happens today, they will take action and punish whoever, irrespective of his position, irrespective of who he is. They will take action and punish whoever is the culprit. But that is just what we don't need. We don't have here in our country. People flop the law. People do whatever they want. Nobody questions them.
In my opinion, the collapse of the building in Ikoyi, the government has her fault and also the developer. I think that is what I can say. None of them can be absolved from what happened. The developer should strictly follow quality procedures, international best practices, avoid sharp, cutting corners and sharp practices. And the government should do diligence in supervising, buildings like that. I'm sure there's an arm of government who is supposed to be supervising the project as it's going on.
I believe the engineers are to be blamed. Before you build anything, before you claim to be a professional, you went to school for this course. and under your watch a building collapse, you are to be blamed because you didn't do your due diligence to checking the kind of land, to buying good products and everything. You have to do your diligence before you build anything, at least that high, 21-story buildings. I think it's the engineers to be blamed. The government have nothing to do about it. It's the engineers.
The government is to be blamed because anyone who wants to undergo such a project should have been given a vivid investigation, because you cannot engage on such projects. There should have been quality material. For instance, from the foundation level, you know very well that this thing is supposed to carry about 21-story building. So there should be a concrete material being used from the foundation level before you get to the top of the building. So I think the government should be blamed, and then the architects and the engineers are to be blamed as well too.
Voices on the street there. Several factors have been fingered as the causes of building collapse in Nigeria, chiefly the use of substandard materials, the deployment of unsafe but cost-cutting techniques in the housing construction, and the lack of professional supervision at various levels of the construction process. Let's do the right thing to avoid loss of lives and properties. Up next is our Women Crush Wednesday.
It's our pleasure to introduce our Woman Crush Wednesday. She is an amazing personality. This woman is a result-oriented business management professional with extensive experience from a 17-year career in manufacturing, construction, engineering services, IT, and project management. Ladies and gentlemen, let's make welcome our Woman Crush Wednesday, Jumoke Adegunle. She is the Managing Director of Master Builders Construction Chemicals, MBCC, and former Head Motor Operations for Lafarge Africa, and a member of the Executive Committee. She holds a BSc in Electrical and Electronics Engineering from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Ghana, and also a master's degree in management from Imperial College, London. She is also a certified Prince 2 project management practitioner. Prior to MBCC, she spent over a decade with Lafarge Holcim as an innovative and empowering leader with financial, commercial, and technology acumen. She was general manager of Haima Cement in Rwanda, where she led country operations. She has also held several pivotal positions in diverse environments in Lafarge Housing, spanning Asia to Africa. Her skills include starting up new business line, strategy, sales and marketing, internal audit, affordable housing, and retail. Jumoke enjoys mentoring young future leaders, consulting on affordable housing matters, and volunteering to Ebi School Leavers Initiative, an NGO that empowers Nigerian youth with vocational skills. She is a design, music, and art enthusiast. This and more have qualified Jumoke Adegunle as our Woman Crush this Wednesday.
In all we do, let's help to bring under control this embarrassing situation in the country and save the lives of our citizens. The state government, with the assistance of the federal government, should intensify efforts towards arresting the trend of incessant building collapse in the country. Many thanks for watching Housing Development. If you missed today's episode and you want to watch over again and previous ones, you can do that via the YouTube channel Housing TV Africa. I remain your Housing Diva, Fleur Annie. See you soon.
Nigeria.